Welcome to Earth's Mightiest Weirdos. It's the four main weirdos for the first time since like WandaVision episode 7 or something like that. Welcome back. We've got Markie Mark from United We Fan up above me, my co-host over at United We Fan. Over in the top right corner, we have the man, the myth, the legend of This Diz Life, Marc Valentine.
Yeah.
And then welcoming back to the show after a few weeks off is the Wolf of Main Street. Welcome back, Wolf.
Hey, it is good to be here. I'm excited to talk some villains. Excited to share my thoughts and hang out with you weirdos again. Always a lot of fun. Hi, Kate.
Okay.
Hi, Katie. Sarah's here as well. Thanks for coming. Frankie's here. Frankie's always here. We love Frankie. Justin Dye is here as well. Yeah. Check out Justin Dye anywhere you can check out your music. He's got a lot of good stuff. He did our theme song for Earth's Mightiest Weirdos.
He's got a new album out. It's pretty hot. Check it out.
All the tracks.
Anthony's here. He tells me to open my mail. I don't know if I dare. All right, guys. We are going to get started discussing Earth's Mightiest Weirdos. We're talking MCU villains tonight. And assemble.
There we go.
So we're going to get started.
I'm the only Thor. I've got the beard. I'm the only one with the beard here.
Yeah, that's nice.
There we go. Whew, thank goodness.
So we're going to get started. Markie Mark, we're going to start up in the top with you because when this topic was proposed to the weirdos, I said that the MCU builds greater villains than anybody has, and nobody can measure up to that. And you wanted to have that debate. So let's spend 3 minutes talking about that.
Can't we just stay on topic? MCU isn't the definitive villain maker. I don't know. When you said it, I was just like, oh my God, another fanboy saying that Marvel, everything they do is perfect. I think I just went in defensive mode.
I didn't say it was perfect. I said it's the most perfect thing that we have.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong. Star Wars kind of tarnished Vader.
Whoa.
Wait,
whoa.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
Little Anakin whiny.
Listen, why do we have to start this with like a hit below the belt right now?
Wow. Okay. Let's see. So there's that. Darth Maul. They wasted him, but then they brought him back with Clone Wars. So Darth Maul they saved. So Star Wars kind of had up and down. Palpatine they kind of ruined with a not well thought out sequel trilogy.
What do you mean? Somehow Palpatine returned. That's good enough for me. I mean,
okay.
Was it?
Let's see. Indiana Jones. I love Indy, but you know what? Indy's still pretty up there.
Okay, so let me backtrack. When I say nobody else can create villains like the MCU, that's a direct shot at DC Comics.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, here's the thing. DC, and I know I'm going to get shots fired at this. Are we talking about DC Films, or where do you want me to go with this?
Yeah.
DC Films.
DC Films. Jack Nicholson's Joker, top of the line. Heath Ledger's Joker. Jared Leto's Joker did not work. I think Batman Returns is hugely underrated. I think Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, Danny DeVito's Penguin are both very underrated. Jim Carrey's Riddler. I know it's not like comic book Riddler, but man, he was a lot of fun. Tylee Jones' Two-Face, no. Mr. Freeze, chill. No,
Right, guys.
chill. And even Christopher Nolan's Ra's al Ghul, I thought was pretty good, but not the fullest. I already went over Heath Ledger and even Scarecrow. Scarecrow's good, but Bane, I think. Oh man, I'm really surprised how highly people think of The Dark Knight Rises, but Bane, I think.
If you want to hear more about that, check out United We Fan, The Dark Knight Trilogy.
Yes. Oh, good plug. Bane, I think that was a problem of the untimely death of Heath Ledger and Christopher Nolan not really knowing how to end that third act. So DC, and I love Zod. I love Zod in Superman 2. I love him in Man of Steel.
But you kneel before Zod?
Huh?
Question. Will you kneel before Zod?
Man, if Terrence Stamp showed up, I would kneel in a second.
Justin says release the Schumacher cut of Batman Forever. Oh boy,
I'd watch it.
I would watch it too.
I'd watch it. No, like I guess my thing is, when you go back and look at the Marvel villains, they openly admitted that they were just evil versions of their character, like Red Skull, just the evil version of Super Soldier Cap. Yellow Jacket, just the evil version of Ant-Man, but a different well, they're not an insect, and so anyways, yeah. But so the villains weren't as strong as maybe people remember, but here's the thing. That's ones that are strong help you forget about those weaker ones so much that you go, man, the Marvel villains are great. Oh yeah, they have that guy, but who cares? Thanos is awesome. Ego's awesome. So
right. I wanted to give you a chance to talk DC villains. That was well worth it. But here on Worst Mightiest Weirdos, an MCU podcast.
Long story short,
we're gonna get.
Batman Returns is underrated and is the best of those 4 Batman movies.
I know you're also invoking stuff that was pre DCEU or whatever it is, because it's not happening. DC ain't happening is what they should.
That's just it. Wonder Woman's villains have been very weak. Aquaman's villain is just the angry stepbrother. Like the DC.
Oh, I thought Mira was the villain.
Ooh.
Can we not, please?
No
please,
arguments here. Okay. Darkseid, though, I was all for Darkseid.
Interesting. Yeah, even what is my favorite DCEU film is Shazam. Like, I feel like the gargoyles or whatever kind of missed the mark for me. They were just an odd spot. They were just an odd spot of that film.
Yes.
But let's get into the MCU. While we're talking best of the best, let's get started right off of the top with our Mount Rushmore of MCU villains. Ethan, are you ready to go with your Mount Rushmore of MCU villains?
I am, and I do have an honorable mention as well. So I have 5. I'm not sure which one's going to get the honorable mention at the moment. However, I'm going to start off with Killmonger. He was probably one of my favorite villains. I actually watched Black Panther again on my way down to Florida on this most recent trip, and he was a legitimate contender. He was also someone that you could genuinely sort of root for. And I like that about this particular because he had a point. He had a point to actually stand up and be, sort of the bad guy within this situation. I'm also going to choose Hela, which is Thor's sister. I thought she was a great villain. I'm also going to choose Loki because I think his character development throughout all of his films was absolutely phenomenal. He was a villain that you started to really care about the moment when Thor asked to see the real him when his mother dies. That was really an interesting point. And then I think the logical answer right here is normally for most, I think, going to be Thanos. However, I'm going to shift away and have Thanos be my honorable mention, and I'm going to go with Agatha from WandaVision.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, buddy.
And
it was Agatha all along. Look at that.
It was Agatha all along. So really liked her character, really liked what she brought to the table. And my cat wants to say hello.
Hello, cat.
We had a giant cat attack.
It's not a cat. We all know what it is.
We had Hela, Killmonger, Agatha. Thanos was the honorable mention, and the 4th one was Loki.
Yep.
Perfect. All right. Perfect. Mark, Valentine.
All right. So this was not easy. I think this was the hardest exercise of the entire night for me. Like, we have other categories and whatnot. So my Mount Rushmore of villains, Ethan and I are going to share Hela. Cate Blanchett was awesome in that role. I kind of felt bad, or I'm assuming that she's dead. I'm assuming that she got killed.
Searcher took her down.
Yeah. I'm assuming that's a done deal, which is a shame because I would have liked to have seen Hela make a return somewhere in the future. I think she was that good. She was, like, in my opinion, one of the best villains that you didn't have to see her for a long time. I don't know what it was. It was the way she was written. So props to Taika Waititi for the direction that he gave her, because the little bit of screen time that she had, she was spot on. She was evil. She ate up the scenery. She was so good. So she's kind of right there at the top for me. Loki, Tom Hiddleston's Loki is my heart. I love Loki. I am
Do
so
you need to
psyched.
leave the room, or
Yeah, I am so psyched for Loki. I love the way he plays it. I love the development of Loki in Ragnarok. Ragnarok is, again, we've said this before. Ragnarok's one of my favorite movies. So 2 of the 4 are coming from that. Number 3 has to go. Ethan gave him the honorable mention, but I'm actually going to put him in there. Thanos. Josh Brolin was awesome as Thanos, the Mad Titan. It's rare when a character is teased that much for that many movies and then lives up and exceeds the hype. Like, Thanos was hyped up, and you just imagine what could have happened. It could have flopped. I mean, people could have said, dude, we were building up for this big bad, and it didn't meet our expectations. Not only did he meet our expectations, he exceeded it. And then last, not necessarily a bad guy, but he was a bad guy, was Sebastian Stan.
oh, you took the out. Oh,
Wow.
You went Winter Soldier.
Dude,
All
he's
right. I'll take it. I'll take
Sorry,
it.
you didn't go Iron Man from Civil War.
Tell me, come on, tell me that he is a great bad guy.
No, I don't disagree.
He is,
I do
yeah.
not disagree.
It's
If
not
we're
a
going to
bad
count
answer.
Loki as a villain, like, I think the Winter Soldier qualifies. So
Yeah,
no, I'll
Loki
give it
is
to
a
him.
villain.
Well, listen, the Winter Soldier, like even in Civil War, he's not good. Like, he's not a good guy. I mean, he still struggles. It's not until this series when we really saw that healing process and him in Wakanda, like, finally shedding the Winter Soldier mantle. Until then, that code was still there. It was still in his brain.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, that's fair.
bad guy.
Well, and we saw it. And that was looking back on the Falcon and Winter Soldier, that scene with him and Io when he learns that it's actually out of his brain. That's my favorite scene from that entire series.
Yeah.
Markie Mark, your Mount Rushmore of MCU villains.
I mean, easy answers for me. I'll get the 3 easy ones out of the way. Thanos, Loki, Killmonger. I don't know how you couldn't say those. I know. I feel like they're just easy answers. And then for me, it came down to, I actually really like Ego popped up in there. Man, I thought he was such a jerk. And then even Mysterio, I thought about for a good second there.
Nice.
And then Zemo. Zemo popped up in there. I thought, just like Killmonger, Zemo's thing is when you can, I don't want to say relate, but you can understand and kind of get their side. You're like, I feel like that just takes a villain to another level. Agatha is brilliant. I mean, everyone's like really talking about her when they talk about WandaVision. Like, I feel like most people's first thing is Agatha all along. Mm-hmm. So, but you know what? I'll go Hela. I thought her character was amazing. I'm not just saying that because Cate Blanchett is a huge celebrity crush of mine, but yeah,
Lord of the Rings Cate Blanchett, or like Aviator Cate Blanchett, like Audrey Hepburn style.
Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
I knew you were doing that. I knew
bowl cut. Maybe Elizabeth with the white paint in the Victorian era.
Anyway, if you saw in the comments just a little bit ago, Maya Kane is here, and Maya will be happy to hear that Killmonger absolutely makes my Mount Rushmore of MCU
Maya.
villains. If you want to hear Maya talk about Killmonger and the movie Black Panther, United We Fan, we did a Black Cinema episode. Maya was our guest on that episode.
That was an awesome episode, guys. I didn't realize Maya, you were awesome on that episode.
Yes.
Maya made that episode like beyond just an average United We Fan episode. So thank you, Maya.
Yeah. So Killmonger absolutely makes mine.
Oh, Life Aquatic, Justin, yes.
Yeah, Justin in the comments is casting a vote for the Life Aquatic Cate Blanchett. I love that.
I understand what you're saying, but I think you misjudged the guy.
Thanos is this generation's Darth Vader. He is the most cinematic villain of our time, without any question to me. Thanos is who Darth Vader was to like me as a kid, for my kids.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised everybody here has Hela. I actually have her written down as underrated. I'm not gonna count Hela, only because you guys all did a great job. I want to include Vulture from Adrian Toomes from Spider-Man Homecoming.
Man,
Nice.
And we're gonna
Okay.
talk. We're gonna talk more about him later on for some of our stuff. I really, really like.
See, I had him for like possibly underrated, so I'm glad you brought him up.
He's great. Anthony's giving Maya crap about getting her own podcast. So just as long as we don't ever have Anthony visit United We Fan, then we're doing okay.
Maya, do you want to come and hang out with the weirdos one Monday night? Like, we would love to have you on to talk Marvel with us.
Yeah, let us know, Maya.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
let us know.
Yeah.
So I've got Thanos, I've got Killmonger, I've got Adrian Toomes, and for my fourth choice, I'm actually going to throw it all the way back to. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. To Captain America, the winners, or excuse me, Captain America: The First Avenger, and the Red Skull.
Whoa.
So underrated. So underrated.
Hugo Weaving in that role was amazing. I don't. And I've said this on United We Fan. Mark gets mad at me every time. The red Crayola crayon skull doesn't always work for me every time in that film, but Hugo Weaving in that role. And then I geeked out more than anything when Ross Marquand reappeared in Infinity War and we got to know what happened to the Red Skull. I thought that was amazing. I really enjoyed his reemergence
Let's
in
just
the
talk
MCU.
about Hugo Weaving for like 30 seconds. He's just a great villain, period. Like, he's amazing in the Matrix trilogy as well.
And check out Ross Marquand on Blockbuster Season 2 playing James Cameron.
So,
Fun fact.
Awesome. Dude,
Perfect.
I don't hate it, as I said.
Everybody in the comments, let us know who we missed in our Mount Rushmores. We are going to have a lot other ones come up, but let's move right into our next topic, which is the most overrated villain in the MCU. We're going to go in the other direction. We're going to start with Markie Mark. I know he's got an answer immediately. So Markie Mark, most overrated villain in the MCU.
Brian, I think you even know who I'm going to say. I feel like.
I have a feeling it can go two ways here. And
I don't
I'm very
see
interested.
I think you need to click your pen and think I have a theory.
I think your most overrated is going to end up on my most underrated, but go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm going to go for most overrated. Carly Morgenthau, the leader of the Flag Smashers.
Okay. No, that is not where I thought you were going at all. That
Oh.
I didn't think you were going there.
She's not on my most underrated.
I think she was poorly written, and that's why she's overrated, is because people tried to make it a big deal, and I'm like, I don't think she was written that strongly.
We've covered that.
Yeah.
Mark Valentine.
Yeah.
All right, so I didn't know how to take. So let me just say, I didn't know how to take this. If by overrated, I don't. Let me just say, all right. So Whiplash from Iron Man 2, who was played by Mickey Rourke. Whiplash, I think he disappointed. He's a classic Iron Man villain, which is why he was there. So he was from the books in 1968. He's a rival of Tony Stark's. He's a rival of Iron Man. So you had to have Whiplash. The problem was you choose a great actor to play him, and then the film itself just didn't know where they were going to go, and then you cast two amazing actors as the villains, and neither one of them really got their due in that film. You get Justin Hammer, and you get you get Whiplash, and
Brian.
neither one of them came to the front.
What do you mean he didn't get his due? Justin Hammer is amazing.
Justin Hammer on his own would have been a great. He didn't need to split time with Whiplash in that movie.
I think he needed him. He doesn't get his hands dirty in that movie. He needed Whiplash to get dirty.
So, well,
He flies in the gelato from San Francisco.
He does.
Yeah, and the parrot. That's not my bird.
I like the give and take between the two of them. It was really funny, especially when Justin's like,
But I don't.
Hey, you stepped on the sound, man.
Oh,
I don't speak Russian.
but I don't think Whiplash is overrated because I feel like everybody just takes a dump on Whiplash and Iron Man 2. So I don't know if it'd be overrated.
Well, that's why I had a conflict with it.
No, okay.
Most people would say no, he's actually rated exactly where he needs to be because he's crappy. But I think he's, in that regard, that's how I took
Hot take.
That scene in Monaco, like when Tony's in the car and stuff, that
Yeah.
scene's amazing.
Yeah,
Like
but we did more of it. We didn't get enough from it.
that's
Right.
fair. That's fair.
But also, Mickey Rourke didn't really have fun making that movie.
No, he did not.
He didn't look like he had fun
Yeah,
doing
so
it
He
either.
didn't look like he had any fun.
Yeah, even if he didn't die and self-destruct himself at the end, Mickey Rourke was like, "Oh, I'm not coming back.
Mm-mm.
I'm not coming back."
Ethan, how about you? Most overrated villain?
All right, so I'm probably going to be on the side of like shock and awe because I just didn't get a feeling from this particular villain that I feel like everybody else did. I feel like a lot of people think he's coming back in the future, which is very possible just based off of the way that the MCU seems to be going. But Dormammu from Doctor Strange, I didn't care for him. I didn't think he was that overly powerful. I didn't get that feeling at least. Kind of came in at the end, just negotiated a good deal with Doctor Strange and was on his way. So I just didn't really care.
Man, sorry, Amanda's picking a fight with Bryan and I.
She is. Yeah, Amanda is picking a fight, calling Justin Hammer overrated. We're going to talk more about Justin Hammer shortly.
The Mandarin.
Ethan, I'm completely with you. We're going to talk about most forgettable later on, but for me, it's Caecilius and Dormammu. The only villain that I remember from Doctor Strange, for the most part, is Mordo, and he's not even really revealed as a villain until the post-credit scene. He's the most memorable for sure, Caecilius, and he's played by Mads Mikkelsen, right? Yeah. So I don't know, like maybe it was just that time when Mads Mikkelsen was in like everything when I turned around, and I remember him a lot more from Rogue One than I do Doctor Strange. But I just
Rob
overrated is going. I'm with you, Dormammu, and because Dormammu is destroyer of worlds, man. Like he should have been more. Part of it is how he's visually portrayed. It's hard to really consider him a villain.
But Ethan has a really great point. Like, dude, I totally agree with what Ethan is saying, but that movie was more about Doctor Strange's journey than it was about the villains. The villains were never intended to be the real threat to that movie. Doctor Strange was the real villain of that movie. He was his own worst enemy that he had to shed.
That's deep.
He had to shed that earth coil in order to become the Sorcerer Supreme. And Dormammu and Mads Mikkelsen. He's forgettable. I don't even remember. Yeah.
Look, guys, I've come to bargain, and I'm here to say that Dormammu, like, I don't think he's overrated just because no one's out there going, oh my God, he's the best villain there is. And then I actually had Mads Mikkelsen. Yeah. I actually had him. He's on my like list of possible underrated. So I'm over here like, what? Did I get a different like take on this? So Oscar nominee guy. But yeah.
God, I love that. David Diggs as Dr. Facilier would be the best pick. That
would be a good dark take on that character.
Yeah, we're having a really amazing off-topic conversation about who should play Dr. Facilier. James said that it should be Anthony Mackie would be a great Dr. Facilier, and like if there were a live action, and then the comments just continued to develop. But Maya David Diggs, which I don't hate that. That's amazing.
David Diggs, I can wait. I can wait for any live action remake of any Disney film, but especially that one.
Whoa.
I do not like Princess and the Frog.
Bryan, get over Splash Mountain. Move on.
Has nothing to do with that. Okay, moving on. When we're talking overrated, let's talk underrated. And I will start us. I've got two that I want to talk about, and I will talk about them until you guys tell me to stop talking about them. The first and foremost,
Mark, get the stop button ready.
I'm getting the music to play him off.
Okay.
Is Justin Hammer. Justin Hammer and his dance moves on stage. Justin Hammer when he's in the bar and Tony and Pepper sit down and he leans over from the bar to say hello. And Anthony, is that you? Like, just after he gets done talking to Elon Musk. Oh, dude. Everything about Justin Hammer is amazing, and I want him to come back in the Dark Avengers or the Thunderbolts or whatever we've got going on. I hope that happens. And number two, you guys know I was going to go this way. Trevor Slattery, the fake Mandarin from Iron Man 3. He is amazing. I love his character so much, where he comes out of the bathroom and the girls are in the bed and they're like, why didn't you push the panic button? Well, I panicked, but then I handled it. Just everything about Trevor Slattery and the fact that he's just a gigantic moron. Oh, Trevor Slattery just faking being the Mandarin. And don't forget that the real Mandarin is in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. So who knows? But like Trevor Slattery, hands down, my favorite villain, even if you can call him a villain, because he's just an idiot. And I love Trevor Slattery. Ethan, most underrated villain in the MCU for you.
So I'm going to be honest, you stole mine. Sam Rockwell is Justin Hammer. I mean, I think Sam Rockwell is probably one of my favorite actors. He incorporates the fact that he enjoys dancing and loves doing it. He incorporates that in almost every. I can recall from Charlie's Angels, he was a bad guy in that one too, and he danced in that. And since then, Sam Rockwell has always been one of my favorite actors. And yeah, Justin Hammer is definitely up there in terms of an underrated villain, because I think we sort of touched on it too, but I think Justin Hammer could have been a standalone villain, going up against the rest of the team there. Yeah.
Justin Dye just brought up in the comments Ebony Maw. That's a great one. He's the standout of the Children of Thanos, the Black Order. Ebony Maw's a really good side villain as well. I agree with that. Mark Valentine, underrated villain.
So the most underrated villain for me, and I want to get more of him. We've gotten him in 2 movies now, and it was not enough. Ronan the Accuser is an amazing villain played by the incomparable Lee Pace. We get to see him in Guardians of the Galaxy, and then we get to see a younger version of Ronan in Captain Marvel. I love the way he played that religious zealot character, and he's just the way he is just hell-bent on destroying Xandar, and he's so over the top, but it's a believable over the top for him in Guardians of the Galaxy. And he's perhaps the only villain in history to suffer a defeat due to a dance-off, which is pretty amazing.
I'm distracting you, you big turd blossom.
Yeah, his demise also gives us like that amazing line when he's like, "Oh," it's like, "You said it yourself, bitch. We're the Guardians of the Galaxy." Whoa! And they just fire him with the powers. It's amazing. It's amazing. I love him.
I think you have. I don't know if he's going to come back for that exact same reason, though.
Yeah, I think he's done.
Yeah, I think he's gone. Markie Mark, most underrated.
I originally thought about Vulture, but it seems like he's not underrated. A lot of people love him, so I don't think I need to shout him out. Killian from Iron Man 3. I thought he was a good villain.
Mark does not like that pick at all.
I thought he was a good villain, but that movie is rather uneven.
Amazing.
So, no, Bryan, don't get me wrong. Bryan is the reason I actually really enjoy Iron Man 3 now. Like, check out our Christmas episode. Bryan will your mind. So I actually had Caecilius. Am I saying it right? From Doctor Strange?
On underrated?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I mean, you guys proved my point, just bashing him. I'm like, I thought he was really good. But I think I'm going to go Mysterio. The guy has buddy moments with Grandmaster. It's my
yeah, for those of you listening to the audio only, Sarah says Grandmaster from Ragnarok. It's my birthday.
But I'm gonna go Mysterio just because I mean the guy literally says like how he's gonna have to kill Peter Parker, and as soon as you say like the sentence, great, now I've got to kill Peter Parker, like it's just like, oh my god, that hurts my heart. So yeah, I'm gonna go Mysterio. I think he is arguably the best part of that movie.
Esther says Daredevil should be underrated. Daredevil,
not yet.
He's not in the MCU yet. He's also not a villain. So
yeah.
If you mean somebody else, let us know, Esther. But Mark, you led me perfectly into our next topic of the best franchise overall. So you can take the Avengers films if you want, which would include Loki, Thanos, and Ultron. For me, the most just the best franchise of villains comes out of 2 films, Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home. The character of Vulture and the story that they tell of Adrian Toomes being scorned by Tony Stark in the Avengers, and then bringing Barf back into it with Quentin Beck and Mysterio. The way they pull off both of those villain turns, and then actually pulling in Ralphie from A Christmas Story all the way from Iron Man 1 and bringing him all the way back as the bartender in Spider-Man Far From Home. The 2 villains they have as the main villains in the Spider-Man franchise make that the best franchise for villains for me.
They should have gave Ralphie a major award, and then he wouldn't have become a villain.
It's a major award.
Yeah.
Ethan, judging by his Rushmore, I'm going to say his franchise starts with a T and ends with a... Well, I'm not going to say Thor.
No. So truthfully, I wrote down Spider-Man as well. Vulture,
Woo!
Mysterio, and even, I know that's not part of the MCU, but if we go back to like the Green Goblin, Doc Ock, like those were some of my favorite villains sort of growing up and being encompassed in the Spider-Man universe. I really love Spider-Man. He's probably one of my favorite heroes. But I really enjoy Green Goblin. Is probably one of my favorite characters of all time. That
I'm somewhat of a scientist myself.
Right, exactly. So yeah, Spider-Man.
We will get Doc Ock more than likely in Spider-Man No Way Home. Probably Electro from Jamie Foxx as well. Mark Valentine, best franchise of villains.
The best franchise of villains is the Guardians of the freaking Galaxy again.
That's a good answer too.
Ronan, Ego, Yondu, the Collector, the Sovereign, and lest we forget the most menacing gentleman of them all, Taserface.
Taserface.
Gotta be the Guardians of the Galaxy. And we're gonna get Adam.
Yeah,
well,
one day, hopefully, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think he's in Volume 3.
I don't know if he is. That might just be a dead end storyline. I mean, would we be upset if it was a dead end storyline?
I don't know if the MCU knows how to write a dead end storyline, though. I mean, everything was a dead end until it's not.
I mean, what is this, Star Wars? Hey, anyways.
And Nebula. Thank you, Frankie Rosa Jr. Nebula.
I've got Nebula a little bit later on.
Karen.
Yes.
Markie Mark, best franchise of villains.
I mean, you guys said all the ones I was thinking of. I thought about just taking the easy route and putting the Avengers, but I think that's the easy route. Guardians, I remember when I thought about that, surprised me. Mark, so that's a great answer. Thor, I think, is an underrated villain trilogy. Bryan, Spider-Man as well. I was like, man, I love Michael Keaton's Vulture. Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio I thought was great, and on screen it was beautiful. Mark, you
need to warn us, man. We step on those all the time.
I know. Here, Mark, go.
That is America's ass.
Oh my God, that's what you know what? That's my villain right there, the Russo brothers and their editing. I'm gonna, Mark, you almost changed my mind to Guardians, but I'm gonna go with Bryan and Spider-Man, seeing how, like I said, Mysterio is the best part of Far From Home, and I love Michael Keaton as Vulture.
You've let me down, man. I really was hoping you were going to go Incredible Hulk and Thunderbolt Ross and the Abomination. I really was shocked you were going to do that.
I almost said Abomination for underrated.
He's coming back in She-Hulk, man.
I'm just shocked that none of you. I thought Bryan, I preloaded this for you because I was certain you were going to go with Iron Man so that I could have said,
Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a box of scrap.
No, I thought Bryan was going to go Captain America.
He's yelling at Ralphie in that exact same scene. But no, Captain America, you led me right back to it. We need to at least discuss the fact that none of us picked Captain America because Hugo Weaving is Red Skull, Robert Redford is Alexander Pierce. Mark talked about it earlier. Bucky is the Winter Soldier.
Tony Stark as Iron Man.
Zemo. Yeah, Tony Stark is Iron Man. He's a villain. Blurred Hulk is here. He says underrated Ebony Maw in the Black Order. So yeah, we talked about that. The children of Thanos. Ebony Maw he's a great character. I really like him. He dies really early in Infinity War. I wish he stuck around for a little while longer in that
David,
flying donut.
we did give Ebony Maw some love earlier on in the episode.
Can you please pull up Lincoln Maurice? He says Malekith is the best MCU villain. No comments. He has to be trolling us. He can't possibly think that. I hope not. That'd be very, very interesting.
He's not the best, but I wouldn't be upset if he showed up again. So that I think the Dark Elves is a good side storyline.
He's going to come up later in the episode. No, let's just do it now. Most forgetable MCU villain, Malekith.
Bryan.
We'll move most forgettable right now.
I'm gonna. Oh, okay. Can I go next?
Go ahead.
Sonny Birch, Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Oh, I love Walton Goggins though. I couldn't do it.
He's a good actor. I think he's great, but his character is just like, why are you like? We just needed some fluffs. Like if you're gonna call Whiplash like fluff, then yeah.
I thought about Ghost from that same film, but
I have her coming up later.
Okay, Mark Valentine, most forgettable.
Yeah, I just ghosted her, so I forgot about her totally. Ryan, I'm really sorry. Forgive me. It's Killian from Iron Man 3. He's my forgettable guy. I had to look up.
Are you upset about that?
I like Aldrich Killian. I like advanced idea mechanics, AIM just in general, but Trevor Slattery is my guy. So I mean, it's okay.
The problem is Guy Pearce is.
Don't say overrated.
No way, dude. He's amazing. Guy Pearce is amazing. LA Confidential, Memento. Like he's an amazing actor. I just thought he was wasted.
Yeah,
he was wasted as a character. They didn't give him enough to do.
Interesting. Ethan, most forgettable.
Mark's probably gonna dislike my answer here, but it's Ronan, the Enforcer. I really didn't.
Wow,
Ethan, that thought popped in my mind.
I liked Guardians, but I in terms of a forgetful character, I just had a tough time with Ronan. I mean, the guy lost in a dance off. I don't know. There just was something about him that I
don't hate
forgot about.
I do. I hate it. I love Ronan. I love Ronan. I think Ronan in Captain Marvel's fairly forgettable, but he's not really the main villain, so I don't think it really counts. Maya says she loves Sonny Birch, so she's coming after you, Mark. I don't know if Maya's ever going to join our show again, but
I would love for Maya to join us again, and I will happily sit back and let her tell me how I'm wrong and be happy that she joined us to tell me I'm wrong.
Piano Rob joining us in the comments tonight. He says Hawkeye in the first Avengers. That's forgettable, I suppose. That's true.
That's true.
Most forgettable, the blue people in the Dark World. Yeah, I mean,
Blue Man Group is in that
movie. All right, let's move on to, and we just talked about Ghost. I think this is where she might come up for you, Mark. And who shouldn't we necessarily consider a villain that has been portrayed as such? Is this where you were talking about Ghost?
Know me. This is not. Yeah,
you just said she was coming up. Yeah,
it is.
Okay.
Yeah, Mark, play something funny. Go.
I have famously huge turds.
All right. Well, choice. Okay, good choice. All right, but yes, Brian. I don't think she's a villain. Yeah.
She's not. She's not. You're right. The way that story films. Mark.
All right. So, villain that's not really a villain. Killmonger.
Ooh.
Good answer.
He's not really a villain. And I think if he had been given more time, I think we would have seen a turn in him.
You don't think he would have taken over the world like his plan? Like
no, I think he would have taken over the world, but I don't see him as a conqueror per se. I think he wanted to share that technology, and I don't know. He's just.
Did we watch the same movie?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I didn't think he just wanted to share.
Listen, he's a hard character because he's so complex. He has had a really rough upbringing. He was alienated from his birthright. He was shunned by Wakanda because of who he was. He grew up without a father figure. So it's hard. It's really hard because I think he's a byproduct of just a really tough upbringing. And I think that the scene where he meets his father on that celestial plane gives him a lot more depth than just, like a two-dimensional, I'm going to take over the world kind of guy. I saw his mission and his manifesto as, I grew up without all of this stuff, and you shunned me. This should be a part of the, this should be a part of the world. I don't know if maybe I just misread that, but I really did. I had a soft spot for him.
I don't hate the answer, Mark. I said earlier, I thought Killmonger was one of those that you could sort of root for because he did have a point.
So he was my fifth, and I almost put him on my Mount Rushmore because I think he really can be on my Rushmore. I really love Michael B. Jordan. I've always loved Michael B. Jordan, but I would love to see Killmonger. I know it's a long shot. He's kind of said it's like a 20% shot that he's going to come back. But I'd love to see Killmonger come back in some form or fashion and get a redemption. I think he deserves it.
Why mess with a perfect character story art? And
I get that.
They literally planned all their sleeper cells to overthrow
governments.
I don't understand. Like, here's the thing. He's on my Mount Rushmore of villains. I think he should have possibly won a Best Supporting Actor. Michael B. Jordan, great guy, but that character was so jaded. He was going to do some really dark stuff around the world. Like, I understand he's got a troubled past, but that doesn't give him a freebie.
I agree with that statement. Just because this is going to get dark real fast. Just because your wife cheated on you doesn't mean you get to murder her. Righteous intention. Like he doesn't while I can understand where he's coming from, this is what makes him such a compelling villain. What he was doing was not right.
No, but I think what Mark is maybe trying to say is that given more of an opportunity to, whether it was with, T'Challa or with someone, a conversation could have been had to turn him over.
He thought he killed T'Challa.
To the other side. But correct, but he didn't. Okay, so moving on. Had there been more conversation, when the trains are going by and there's this big epic fight scene, I do think that there could have been an opportunity for a conversation there. And I'm not one to want conversation, but I do think that conversation could have been had where it's like, hey, I get it. I don't understand what you're fighting for here, but maybe we can work this out. We can figure it out, as men. But
and T'Challa comes to that realization too. He says, maybe we can still heal you. Bury
me with my answer.
T'Challa is willing to do that. That's
right. But Killmonger didn't stop the fight and say, hey, let's talk about this. He wanted to kill T'Challa again while they were fighting because he thought he already you guys are trying to redeem him, but literally Killmonger sees T'Challa and he's like, oh, I'm going to finish you off again. They fight again. It was to the death. T'Challa, being the good man he is, didn't want it to end like that. Killmonger only had one ending in mind, to where he wins, becomes king of Wakanda, and overthrows governments. I'm
on your side, but to go to Mark Valentine's point, we just didn't get a long enough story. His life came to an end, and it was a very powerful, meaningful end for that story. But if you end Loki after Avengers, we never get Loki's redemption in any sort of manner.
If I could tag back in, by the same logic, I would use as Exhibit A, I would use Sebastian Stan, and I would use the Winter Soldier. He's committed atrocities. He's committed assassinations. He was given the opportunity by Cap. Cap did not give up on him, and because
he was brainwashed.
Nope, he was able to redeem himself.
He was brainwashed.
He was, but
he wasn't doing it of a jaded history. He was being mind controlled. And here's
let him finish.
Okay, sorry, Mark. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Mark. Go ahead.
But there was even a point where where Cap is like, me. He didn't have code in him at that moment. He knew what he was doing. And he still chose violence at that point. Here, my point is it's a different kind of, it's not, you're right, he's not brainwashed. But here, my point would be this. He is a byproduct of a violent upbringing in a violent system. He was brought up and cultivated. It's like, dude, we were so quick. Like, we forgave John Walker with his speech of, you built me this way. You made me. And we were like, you know what? Okay, cool. He's got a turn. Like, we'll let you come back in. He smashed the dude's brains out and like said, like, I'm a byproduct of the military industrial complex. You made me. Well, dude, Killmonger is the same exact thing. He was a soldier. That the guy was trained to be a killer. And so like he grew up with a chip on his shoulder. He grew up ostracized. He grew up to be programmed to be that killer. What Ethan and I are saying is he never got a chance to finish that story. He was killed. And when presented with that opportunity, he said, you just bury me with my ancestors. We forgot them.
I want you guys to admit right now, you are taking a big assumption that Killmonger would have changed who he is and if he had another chance.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that he wouldn't necessarily change. There's a very strong possibility that the way that it played out would be the way that it played out. But to say that they're like, this is like one of those what ifs. Like, what if Killmonger and T'Challa had one of those types of conversations that led to Killmonger, who earned his name during the war, and he was a war veteran, so what if?
Yeah. Well, so can we circle back for like 30 seconds to say,
let's make it our last 30 seconds, just because this isn't Earth's Mightiest Weirdos Killmonger.
Is Syndrome in the Incredibles movie misunderstood because he was a boy trying to be a hero and Mr. Incredible was mean to him, so the rest of his childhood was very tough because he wanted to be a hero and idolize Mr. Incredible, but then he grew up to be a misunderstood villain who, if Mr. Incredible would have maybe hugged him and talked to him and let him be Incrediboy, he would have been a hero?
No.
Go home, buddy.
I think we're to circle back to the beginning, like I was saying, we started this conversation saying, what is it about the MCU's villains that stands out? What is it that makes these villains so much better than other franchises out there, specifically the DC ones? We can have a debate like this with Killmonger, and it's amazing. We can have a debate like this with several of the characters in the MCU, that their villains are not drawn as two-dimensional villains who make a menacing speech, have their 5 minutes to like hatch some kind of scheme, and then they get killed, and then it's like, okay, we move on. These are characters that are drawn perfectly, and they have really great backstories, they have rich histories, that they are conflicted. So that's kind of my point, is I think that you can make this case with a lot of guys that if given more time, you could really analyze what makes them tick. And some of them are not bad, some are not bad, they're byproducts of the system. I think Killmonger falls in that spectrum. I'm not saying like, I'm not saying that like Ethan was saying, if we're taking a chance, we're just saying, hey, if his story went further, we think he could have made that turn.
But even like 2014 Thanos from Guardians and the Thanos we get in Endgame is a very different character even than what we get in Infinity War. Like, obviously, I'm not trying to redeem Thanos. He's still very much a villain, but just another way to think about it. But like I said, this isn't Earth's Mightiest Weirdos, Eric Killmonger, unfortunately. But Ethan, who shouldn't be considered a villain? Did you have Killmonger written down as well?
I didn't. I actually had written down, I have two. I have Bucky, and I also have Nebula. I think Nebula is sort of a good case in point here, where she had opportunities to be the villain. She was very much the bad guy. And then there are moments where you start to realize that she is on a different path. And, obviously there are two different Nebulas at one point working against one another, but I think they both sort of realize that they can be good in the long, right, given a little bit of time. But and Bucky is also a prime example here. Like, he's done awful things, but we saw a little bit of redemption. I'd like to think. I wasn't a huge fan of the show, and I made that pretty clear. But I think Bucky
also
got
by
a little bit of
wiping his brain a little bit.
Yeah, But he was given the time to rectify some of the issues that he's had, and I think with time, similar to Killmonger, I think that with time, he could have been on the same path as a character like Nebula and Bucky. So, but I think of the two, I think who isn't a villain, I think Nebula is the one that sticks out to me. I think she and her sister Gamora had it within their mind the entire time that at some point they knew this had to stop. Like, sure, they were pawns in a really big scheme, but I think that at the end of the day, Nebula is the type of person that I look at and I say, portrayed as a villain, but not really a villain.
Bad guy, but not a bad guy.
Thanks, Satan. Okay, and if you don't get that reference, then I'm not calling Mark Satan. Don't worry. All right, let's move on. That was a fun topic. Markie Mark, you ready to move on? You all right?
Let's do it.
I heard him.
Let's go back with Ethan. We'll let Mark get a chance to get mentally back into it here. When we talked last week about a lot coming in the future of the MCU. There's several villains that we know that are going to come back in some form or fashion. Your most anticipated villain, Ethan, did you have an answer here?
Yeah, I do. I think it's the easy one for me, which is Loki. Seeing him come back and seeing Owen Wilson and his, catchphrases, I think Loki for me is the one that I've sort of circled and said, all right, MCU's 1-1 for me right now, like in terms of what they've done since Endgame. So WandaVision hit, Falcon and the Winter Soldier just really didn't. So they're 1-1.
Give them credit, man. Spider-Man Far From Home was good. They're probably 2-1.
Yeah,
if you're talking since Endgame.
Yeah, that's true. So in terms of what I'm looking forward to, I've circled Loki, especially in terms of a villain project that's due to come out. So I'm excited for Loki, as I think most of us are.
He put a heart in his calendar. He doesn't really know what it means yet.
Right. Not sure.
I don't think I answered, by the way. I don't think I answered who we shouldn't consider a villain. I'm absolutely going with Jeff Goldblum, the Grand Master from Thor Ragnarok. He's a slave owner and everything. He's not exactly a villain, but he's wonderful.
Oh my God. I can't believe you're saying that. After I was the only one to speak up about that, and you
about
left
what?
me out there. I literally put in our little production message, do people consider him a villain? You left me out there alone to defend him.
Oh no, I gave him as the example,
you could take a ride in his special rocket ship.
But he is portrayed as the villain, even when he gets off in the post. I love the post credit scene when he comes off the ship and he's like, "Call it a draw." So, Mark Valentine, most anticipated villain appearance.
The theme of the night, gentlemen, for me is Guardians of the Galaxy. I am excited for Adam Warlock. He is the very definition of OP. If we get him,
don't count on it.
Yeah, if we get him, he's been teased in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 that they were setting him up that Adam is in the giant golden sarcophagus. But if we do get him, he's cool. He has quantum magic as one of his powers. So I think it would fit because he really has that metaphysical quantum energy manipulation. And that's of course him in the comics. Sometimes they're not true to form, but it seems like he would fit thematically. He is a traditional villain of the Fantastic Four, of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and he would be a perfect addition to Phase 4.
Markie Mark, your most anticipated villain appearance.
My most anticipated, I think, is a Fantastic one. I'm looking at Doom for Fantastic Four. I think he is arguably one of the top 5 Marvel villains of all time.
I like that, Markie Mark.
Who's do you have a dream casting for Dr. Doom? If not, that's fine. I just thought you might want to have one on the top of your head.
I feel like you and I have talked so much about off the wall casting for Reed Richards, but I'll come back to me on that. I'll throw a name out there randomly at some point.
Bill Hader for Reed Richards. I want it really, really bad. My most anticipated villain of things that we have confirmed is I don't think there's a better answer for me than Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher in Thor: Love and Thunder.
I didn't pick him because I knew one of the two of you guys were going to pick him, so I tried to be different.
Christian Bale's amazing. I do anticipate him being kind of a one and done villain. Rob was here last week. We both talked about it. His name's God Butcher for a reason. I'm afraid that means the demise of Thor. I hope not, but we'll see. As for a dream villain, and we'll go back around the horn. Markie Mark, we'll start with you, but I'll give mine first. A dream villain. I would love Henry Cavill to play.
Henry, come to the MCU side.
Yeah, to play Kraven the Hunter in Spider-Man. I think he would be a really good Kraven. I also hope that we do get Mark Hamill as Rocket's creator in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Those are my two dream villains to come in the near-ish future. Marky Mark, your dream villain, whether it's somebody you would love that has been in the MCU that you want to see come back, or just any comic book villain you'd like to see introduced.
Galactus.
Yeah.
I wish I had more, but
Do you want him introduced with the X-Men, or do you want him introduced even sooner than that?
Maybe not the X-Men. I don't think that would smoothly work there, but who am I to decide? But
He's more Fantastic Four, I guess that's true.
That's a whole episode right there of like rebooted Fox bad guys that I would like to see.
That's just it. I've been watching Silver Surfer a lot, and I'm like, man, oh god, that Death Cloud. What is this? Lost. Thank you, Ethan. Ethan, that slow laugh. Just Galactus. I think there's so much potential there if you could read Marvels and see Galactus's storyline in that. I think it's a great one.
I agree. Only
plus
other
it opens
than
up the Silver Surfer storyline there too.
Right. Yeah. That Silver Surfer would be so fun. But I think my only problem with Galactus is then everybody's going to automatically make the Thanos comparison the ultimate big bad.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. If they come up with a good storyline, because everybody's looking for the new quote unquote big bad. The Infinity Saga was its own thing for a reason. I'm very, very interested. Galactus will come at some point. That's a really good card. Mark Valentine, dream villain.
So I am going to speculate, and I'm going to go and do the thing that I do best, which is put my foot in my mouth and say, I think I'm going to get this villain because of the nature of the multiverse and the quantum realm. I think we are going to, and I want to see Kang the Conqueror. And I think that if there's going to be a big bad for this phase, I think it's going to be Kang, and I'm all in. He doesn't have superpowers, but because he is a time traveler, he manipulates that knowledge of time to have unnatural abilities and technology that supersedes anything that they have in any given time period.
Would you like me to play spoiler?
Kang the Conqueror.
Would you like me to play spoiler right now?
Sure, go ahead.
Kang the Conqueror has been cast by Jonathan Majors, most notably from Lovecraft Country on HBO. He is playing Kang the Conqueror. His first appearance is going to be in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Boom. There it is.
There it is.
Jonathan Majors is a great actor. That's a great call. He is in the family tree of Reed Richards, actually.
I don't hate it.
That's a good one.
Dude, Kang is listen, Kang is such a big part of the Marvel comic book universe. Like, he's so well known.
Think about Kang and Owen Wilson's character from the TVA just getting on screen at the same time.
Yep.
It's going to be fun. Ethan.
So I had to do a little bit of research on this because I'm not a big comic book, but I did write down two. One of which I'm surprised none of you said, but Mephisto was supposed to be around a lot earlier, but suddenly didn't come out. So he was just kind of like my funny one. But I would love to see, and I did a little bit of research, like I said, about Lady Death, and her tie-ins with Deadpool and just being like this big, maybe I'm not describing it right, but anyway, Lady Death would be interesting. I'd love to see either Emilia Clarke or Angelina Jolie take on a role like that. I think that
Well, Angelina Jolie is in the Eternals. Don't forget.
Yep.
And Emilia Clarke
okay.
is also spoken for in Secret Invasion. So I think you're
All
going
right,
to
guys.
lose out on those
Listen,
two.
You can just steal away.
No, you're good. I'm
It's
just
fine.
kidding around. I wouldn't expect the Lady Death only because Hela was the goddess of death.
Yeah.
There's a lot of overlap between those two characters. I wouldn't expect it, but especially in regards to the Deadpool storyline, you're right. That would be very, very interesting. The cool thing about what the MCU is you threw out two wonderful, great actresses. Unfortunately, they're both spoken for in future projects. So I mean, that's really cool stuff. That's really interesting.
So, Bryan,
gentlemen, yeah.
I have 3 off of top of my mind for Doom.
Oh yes.
Justin. Oh man. Thoreau.
Yeah. Jennifer Aniston's husband.
No, they're not. They never got married.
No, Jennifer Aniston's whatever he is.
Almost was. Yeah. Taron Egerton from Kingsman.
No.
I don't see that either. Elton John and Dr. Doom stuff. No, I'm good.
Oh man, he's done other stuff. Okay.
You don't like him at all?
No, I don't like him at all.
Watch Eddie the Eagle. He was good in that one.
Yes, here's one way off the wall. You ready? Daniel Radcliffe.
Really?
You need to watch something other than Harry Potter.
I saw him in Equus, dude. I've seen enough of Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah, but he was
That's all I'm gonna say.
He was still young. Like watch some of his darker movies. He can bring it. Watch Green Room.
I don't think I've seen anything. How about Tommy Wiseau? Oh, hi, Reed. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on Earth.
I hate you so much.
On Earth's Mightiest Weirdos this week. Ethan, we've got The Wolf of Main Street. Are we going to have a podcast tomorrow?
Yes, we will.
Perfect. Mark Valentine, what's going on in this Diz Life land?
We have Kirk from Walrus Carp, and we have Babu's freaking podcast coming up this week as well.
Babu's freaking podcast. That was a fun one to record. UWF is coming out hopefully Wednesday. My plan is to finish editing that this evening, and we'll get it out Wednesday morning. Anything else going on in UWF land?
No, I mean, check out Justin Dye. He did our intro for UWF Plus coming up soon. So great guy, great music. And then check out John McKeever. He's doing some artwork for some of our United We Fans shows. So a lot of good Disney artwork for all you Disney fans out there.
I'll wrap it up with a comment from Piano Rob. Says last category, best hair tonight. Ethan wins. He was on point.
Oh my God. He is on fleek.
For the children.
For the children.